So welcome to this first Game Changers interview of 2018. We're so excited. And tonight, I'm really excited to have an intimate chat with someone I love, I admire, a friend, a business partner, and actually a co-founder of Game Changers. It all started with you, basically. And so we're gonna dive in right away, if you don't mind. So I want to introduce you to Leanne Jacobs. I won't say much about you, Leanne, because my first question is really about, for those who don't know you or that don't know you that much, I'd love you to share your USANA story, how it all started, and why you decided to do USANA.
Yeah. So my story, I actually started, for those of you who I've known for a little while, you probably know that I started on the products. And I love that I still keep in touch with the personal trainer who put me on the products through Instagram, which is amazing. His name's Matt. He's in Ottawa, and he's amazing. But when I was in university, I was playing soccer, I was running, and it's like the prime of my type A years where it's like, I have to work out perfect, and I have to be in perfect health, and I have to, like everything was about, doing everything as best as possible. So I looked for the trainer in the city I was living in who had the best reputation. And his name was Matt. He was an Olympic level coach. And he was just somebody that is, for those of you who have met him, he's so integrity. It's incredible. Like, I don't think he's ever put sugar in his body. He's just like so integrity with health. And so when he told me about the USANA products, and I would see his clients coming in, and they were in such insane health. And I was like, how do you do that? I mean, it can't just be working with weights. There's got to be a formula to looking and feeling like that. And he laughed, actually. He said, well, you haven't been on USANA. That's why. And he was laughing because he's like, the fine tuning you can do with fitness on a product line like USANA. Most people that are in that world have the nutrition and have the fitness. But he said they're missing the third most critical component, which is supplementation. So I just trusted him, and he put me on a program. It was the Reset, the Essentials at the time, Biomega. Like, he just put me on some base products. I think I was like 24 around then. And I just started taking them. And then I would like order more online because I didn't know anything about the business. So when I needed products, I would just be a mad shopper online and just like, I ordered the skincare. I was like the dreamiest client ever because I just went online after school and after work and would just order product. So I think I was a dreamy client. And that was my introduction to USANA. And I took it, I was doing my master's at the time. I was working for Johnson & Johnson. I had a really busy schedule. I was married. But health was still a priority. So that was like my intro to, I knew the products were awesome. So that's how I got introduced to USANA. And then it wasn't until I met your brother that the health was always a focus. But I didn't understand the whole business entrepreneurship passive income piece. I was totally clueless. I was like, totally focused on the corporate life. And I know you and we've both been down that path. Some people love it their whole life. I loved it at the time, but I knew in 10 years I would probably outgrow it. So my ears were listening for what are some choices that I need to make today so that I have more doors open when I'm 40. So I started to listen at 28 to people who had lifestyles I wanted down the road, if that makes sense. Because I was in my little bubble with my friends in corporate, and it was fun at the time, but I knew, I don't know, there was something in me that knew at one point I would outgrow it, if that makes sense. So I and thank goodness I was dating your brother, and he was so focused on personal development, leadership, not getting complacent. And he just fed me information, and he was like, you need to have another income stream. You don't have an income stream that pays you when you're sleeping. He's like, all you do is work and you check email at 3 a.m. and your boss owns all of your time. And I was like, you're right. But I wasn't really open. I didn't know what network marketing was, but I wasn't really open. I think I was afraid of failing. There was a little piece of me that's like, I think he's right that I need a passive income, but I'm afraid to fail, so I'm not going to be that open. So I was like, don't give me too much information. Like, I had a boundary when it came to learning more. And then it wasn't until we met when I saw your lifestyle, how healthy and vibrant you were. And that was like, I know you remember the day we met, but I was like full on corporate perfectionism, like everything had to be perfect. And I'm so different today, but that was me back then, and you knew me back then. And then almost when I saw you, it was like, there's another way to live. I know it sounds weird, like it's hard to language it, but you were my contrast.
Yeah.
And it's what I craved, and I didn't know the details, but it was energetically, I wanted what you had. I didn't know how to get it, but in my mind, if USANA could get me that, I was already on the supplements. And if all I had to do was activate a business account instead of a client account, to me, it was like an absolute no-brainer. And I made a commitment, though, that I would make a check every week when I started, and that I would be extremely open and coachable. And then I just wanted to learn as much as possible. So that's kind of in a nutshell my kind of interesting journey to USANA. And again, like, I'm very in tune with my intuition, and I go on gut feeling always. So even though I was resisting the business concept, I knew it was probably right, but it just took me a little bit of time and meeting you to let go of my ego and to just let go and be like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm already taking the products. You know, there's like, that's worst case scenario is maybe I don't make $1, but I'm still taking the best products in the world. So I didn't really look at, there's really no downside. So that's how I got introduced to the business.
Amazing. And how long after, I can't remember, how long did it take you to quit your job?
I quit my job after about a year. And again, like, I didn't replace my total income, but I could get by if I stopped shopping. So I decided to go on a spend detox, not buy anything that wasn't necessary. I still did Pilates, like I still was a Pilates, I taught Pilates, but I also took Pilates and paid for it 3 times a week. I still ate healthy, still kept my gym membership, but anything that wasn't aligned with a core value, like, you know, shoes and purses are nice, but they're not aligned with a core value, I didn't spend. So I didn't even go into debt. It was just like, I just didn't spend as much. Mm-hmm. I became a bit of a minimalist for the year that I quit my job. And I'm still like that today.
Yeah.
I feel when I have too much stuff, I can't breathe.
Yeah. Totally get you. Okay, thanks. And so I'm asking you something really, like, probably everybody thinks that you never went through any challenges because you're so amazing. But honestly, what has been your most challenging thing for you in USANA? What has been the most challenging part?
Without getting into too much detail, the biggest challenge for me has been walking the talk when it comes to lessons that leaders have taught me. And one of the biggest ones is from Jim Rohn. And because I listened to him every day for my first year, the one piece of leadership I got out of him was leaders always show up.
Mm.
And I think there is a time when you have to listen to grace as well and give yourself permission to take a break. But I showed up even when I didn't want to, through personal challenges, like lots of personal challenges, through business challenges, through times when I didn't always feel like a billboard of health, living on unhealthy foods and then having to do a nutrition seminar. I still showed up. And I think for me, that's been and I think every leader that I've come across is the same. Like people don't need to know your whole personal life. But, if I shared some of the details behind times when I've showed up, I think people would agree that I've showed up through personal challenge. And I think leadership is sometimes about, you still need to serve other people, even if you're going through your own stuff. I think there is a time to rest, but I just have a deep commitment to support people, and sometimes getting myself out of a bit of a funk is a muscle that I've built over time. Would you agree that showing up, it's
totally a muscle to build.
Yeah.
Totally.
So, I mean, and then sometimes I work with people who aren't committed to that level, and that's totally okay. But I think for you and I, we're similar, and there's other people that are probably listening who are similar. Leadership is such a pillar for me, and I do mess up and I do fail, but I always get back up.
Mm. Yeah. And
I don't live in drama. There's been some times when I've called you to complain, for sure, especially about the bars. But I think you would agree that I'm not a drama person.
No, not at all.
Because to me, it's such a waste of time and waste of energy. And why do you leak for people who are drama people, I'm just like, they don't realize they leak all their power to drama, and then their health suffers and they don't clue in, And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about continuing to mentor. It's because I want to develop leaders who they don't have to fit in all the time. They don't have to be liked all the time. It's like, it doesn't matter. The world needs a different kind of leader today. And if you don't have a backbone and you can't get out of drama, how are you going to help other people?
Exactly.
So.
Love it. Next question. I know this has changed a lot since you've been a mom.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as a mom, what's your DMO, your daily method of operation?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I think I grew up this is my personal opinion. The earth has shifted out of that male energy, scheduled type. It doesn't really work anymore.
Mm.
For me, it's been truth that, I had to graduate from that. I think some personalities do better with more structure in the day. So what I will say is I'm really good at the 7 habits, and we talk about this a lot, but I'm really good at practicing the principles of the 7 habits. So I'm not a person who really needs a ton of structure in the day. But until you get really good at mastering that book, I feel it's very important to have some type of schedule to keep you grounded, because if not, you will get spazzed out in social media and spend all your time making Instagram and Facebook rich. And you'll be left sitting on your computer with no cash. But Facebook dudes are getting rich over you staring at the screen. So I'm very aware of where do I leak power?
Mm.
I certainly don't want to leak it to social media because all the people who own it are they want you to be sucked in there all day because that's how they make cash. So I'm I have boundaries with social media, and I'm not an expert at social media, it's not my zone of genius. I'd much rather leverage social media and get some help than be awesome at it. There's other people, it is their zone of genius. What I would say is be really clear what you're really good at and where you might need some help, mentoring, a coaching call. And you don't need to hire a mentor for a year, but maybe you could hire one for an hour and just suck them a little bit and say, just tell me what I need to know to be good like you, just the basics, and then go apply the information. So for me, again, like with our kids and I can do a lot in an hour. Just because I know how to focus on revenue generation. I don't even look at my cell phone. Like I don't get distracted easily, which is what he teaches. You know, you have to be able, when you're in the zone, you have to be able to really focus. The other thing is today with social media, you can integrate your USANA business really into your lifestyle so that you don't have USANA hours. And that's how I do it. I had a coffee with a new associate today, which was social, but we got a lot done. Went to pick up my kids, come home, do a webinar, did some Instagram invites. That's my USANA day. So it's all integrated so that, whereas when I started, it was like, okay, my USANA hours are from 9 to noon, but there was no social media.
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing too is like I leverage videos for my presentation now. I rarely do a live presentation anymore. I just send videos and then I book the follow-ups. So that saves me a lot of time.
That's a great tip right there for people that are super busy. Right. And I love it how, you know, how you make it flow into your life. I'm a little bit like that too. I'm not like my boyfriend is sitting in front of me. I'm sure he's gonna agree.
But you're a free spirit too. I feel like our souls would feel like we're in jail.
Yeah.
So you have to know your personality, right? If you're a bit more, you like a controlled environment and you're a bit more analytical, you might want to set up a schedule for the week, at least in the beginning, until you do it on autopilot. But if you're a free spirit, it's going to make you feel like you're in jail. So you want to integrate it into your day so you don't have separate USANA hours. It's just part of conversations, part of your day. Send it like, I can have someone watching a video right now, do a webinar, and have someone texting me for a product order all at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
That's how you want it.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And I know a lot of people on the call are pretty new. So what would be your, like, if you had one tip to give to the new associates, what would you?
I gave this one to one of my new partners today. Energetically, you need to treat your business, we don't need to, but I highly encourage you to treat your business like a child and give it love. Because sometimes what people do is when they start their business, they put pressure on their business, or they're so hard on themselves because they want to succeed so bad, they put that energy on their beautiful baby business and it doesn't fuel it properly. So the analogy I like to give is like it was a baby, you want to give it that same energy because it's going to return to you what you give. So if we're hard on our business, we can't expect it to have amazing, loving, graceful momentum back. And that's something that I wish I did a little better in the beginning. But honestly, I am so grateful now. And this is just a small example, but on a weekly basis, even if my income has gone down a little bit, I never blame USANA or am hard on my business. I always say to my husband, like, look what it's brought me and look what it's brought our family. And a lot of people on this call know that, you know, it's even hard for me to language, but I saw the 10 years out when I started. So I was like, you know, my dad got Parkinson's when he retired. He retired early so he could have an amazing travel retirement. And then almost just under a year later, got diagnosed with Parkinson's. So here I am, like 27 or 28. I don't have kids yet. I can do whatever I want. But I wasn't thinking about that year. I was thinking about, okay, well, let's fast forward 10 years. When I have kids, do I want to have a boss and have someone owning my time? No. Do I want to be available for my parents? And if I need to contribute financially, do I want to have that option? Yes. Do I want to be super flexible so if my dad needs my help during the week at 11 a.m., I'm available? Yes. So I made that decision at a young age for not that day, for down the road. So now that my mom needs more help and, you know, my dad needs more help, any time of day, my mom can text me and I can be there within 10 minutes. That is my gratitude for my business. Do I need more shit? Do I need more material crap? No, I don't need anything. But it's given me time. So even if my business has gone down a little bit or up, it doesn't really matter. I have so much gratitude towards my business, regardless of what level it's at, that I would never treat it with psychic badness, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think that's my message. If you are new, if you can start, I had to learn that because I was really type A, hard on myself. So obviously I'm going to be hard on my business. But if I could backtrack a bit, from day one, I would only give it love and only give it gratitude. And if it wasn't returning exactly what I wanted, and I think I've been pretty good at this, it's like, where do I need to shift? There's always going to be things that I wish USANA would come up with bar tomorrow and like be a little bit faster sometimes at making decisions. But I know that the results are always a reflection of what's going on inside, and that it's subtle tweaks I need to make, not USANA corporate, I need to make to see better results. So I think I've always got that, but I could have been a little softer and more grateful for my business in the beginning. And that's a long answer. But yeah, like I can't express, like for people just starting, even if you're making $200 a week passive, it's more passive income than 90% of the planet has.
Yes, exactly.
So just make sure though that you don't just bulk it in with all the other money you make, because you'll lose the gift of it. So whether it's separating your USANA money in a wealth account, or physically withdrawing it and putting it somewhere, you know, different so you can recognize how much you're earning, that's really special. Because a lot of people are not good with their money, so they get $200, $300, $400 a week and they spend it before they make it, and they don't even notice when they're getting paid by USANA. And I feel like I get sad because I feel like it's if you want your money to grow, it's really important to respect the pennies that you're making in the beginning, or the dollars.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I love it. Really, it's
like even sometimes now I'll physically withdraw money and put it in my wealth account, because the act of doing that puts me in a vibration to get more.
Yeah, and the gratitude, you know, it's like if we could all start that from day one.
Totally. And can I give one little example?
Sure.
Okay, this is a tiny example, but it's all about vibe. So what I used to do, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate, if you're stressed out or you get a bill that you didn't expect, or the government gives you a bill for 20 grand or whatever, I would want to explode and I would take it out on my husband. The poor guy didn't do anything wrong, right? But I would just be like, we're females, and sometimes we're like a storm. And that's part of our goodness as well. Yeah. So today I got home, and for some reason the cable company had shut down my cable. And I was like, what? Like, I always pay my cable on time. And I realized that it's like a wave, right? I had a wave of emotion where I wanted to freak out. And of course, my husband's in the room. So I look at my pattern. Well, if I can freak out to him. I'm not going to blame him, but I tend to spew my energy on him. But instead, I was like, isn't that interesting? You know, the wave of emotion is coming like it does, but I'm not going to project my shit on him today. So I just went and did some deep breathing. I'm not kidding. This is true. And then I called the cable company, and they're like, well, you haven't paid your cable since November. I'm like, what? So it turns out I paid 2 bills over, but it went to a different account. So they fixed that, and I ended up having a credit for $300. And she's like, so you really don't have to pay your cable until May.
Wow.
It's a tiny example of how the bigger picture works. And I think I got a little rewarded because the universe was like, let's see if she does what she normally does, which is project something in. And she acted like a big girl. She kind of, I'm not saying we're being tested, but I did better than before. And so all I'm saying is it's always an internal lesson.
Yeah.
The universe is just going to give you some storms until you learn your own shit.
Yeah.
So, and then I got a piece of mail an hour later that from my insurance company saying, we owe you money, but a check got lost in the mail. Can you please call us so we can resend it? And I was like, if this isn't a sign that this is how the law works,
yes.
You know, so I would just say, be committed to building the muscle of prosperity. And you'll see your business grow for sure.
Yeah. And that's so perfect to flow into my next question because you wrote an amazing book. You're a best-selling author of The Beautiful Money, starting a tour. You'll be in Montreal in April. We're so excited.
I can't even tell you, like I put together the workbook. I just finished the workbook for it. And I can't even tell you how much gratitude I have for teaching this, because I think the material that's in it is not really taught, especially in a money course.
Yeah.
It's so for me in alignment with like what maybe Wayne Dyer would teach, or, you know, like I feel like it's so based on truth, and it's a compilation of my absolute favorite lessons put together in a one day. So I can't wait to bring it. I have to do it in French in Montreal, but that's I'm up for the challenge.
And can you tell us a little bit about that, about your book, how it came to life? And I know that you learned so much through USANA, and, you know, like, did it start with that? And then you put all the new stuff that you know, went through and
yeah, so my personal philosophy is to stay as in alignment as possible as much of the time so that I can receive creative downloads, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
If we're out of alignment and we're living in drama, we don't take care of ourselves, whatever the situation, our creative energy will get blocked. And then we'll have to just be worker drones our whole life because we won't have that flow of creativeness. Now, artists get it often, like my husband's an artist and he gets the downloads a lot, but they have their own set of challenges because sometimes they have trouble grounding that creative energy.
Yeah.
So and you may know an artist like this or a spiritual healer, they get a lot of the download, but it gets muffled up in the body and then they can't ground the idea. So sometimes they'll be broke their whole life, or they just can't seem to get their shit together, you know? So everybody has their own challenges, but I try my very best to stay in alignment more and more of the time. And that requires a very disciplined day life. And I think it's why I've been drawn to Carolyn Mace, because she said, I have such ungrounded energy, which is why I have such a grounded personality. And I love that because I'm like that. Like, I have such a grounded, relatable personality. And I think it's because my energy is, like, if you saw inside my body, like, my energy is like bouncing off, but I contain it well. So when you meet me, you won't feel that. I think you'll feel groundedness very much so. And I think it's for a reason. So that being said, when I feel, because I I do my best to manage that. When I get a download, I instantly act on it. USANA was an example. Like when I met you, it's like, don't give me too much information because I don't want to get lost in the intellect. It just feels right, so I'm moving. When it came to Beautiful Money, I just got a download, honestly, that the material has to get out there, and it's totally out of my comfort zone to do most of the things I do because I'm much more quiet and introverted, and I would much rather, watch movies and read books and be cozy in my bed and go to yoga. That's my natural state. Yeah. But I think I would be a hermit if somebody didn't kick me out of my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So it's always out of my comfort zone, which is why I feel like if it's truth and it feels right and I get a hit, I act. I will say, though, that there is a method and a strategy to what I do. So I'm very clear on what my values are. So I don't get lost in a million things going on in my life. I don't say yes to everything. I have clear boundaries. That took me about 12 years to develop. And I'm still a work in progress, but my boundaries are pretty good now.
Yeah.
But USANA has taught me all of this. Mm. It's like a PhD in enlightenment and leadership and spirituality and team building and psychology all in one.
Absolutely. And I have to say that, I've known you since you're 4 years now, like
since I was in my 20s.
It's amazing. And yeah. For me, it's I think that like in a such short amount of time, you're the only person I know, and I'm totally sincere, that I've seen change so much.
Really? Oh my goodness.
And when you apply, I told you that before, you've been always like that. You read a book, you apply, you get it online, you apply. So it's by applying and practicing that real change occurs, and that, it's not, for you, it's not theory, or you're always, so I saw you, and I remember at the beginning, you were not that open to personal development. That was something new to you. And look at you today. It's like...
Well, I think what was missing for me is I lived from my head so much.
Yeah.
But I lacked soul. I lacked connection with my spirit. And even though I grew up in a Catholic household and I went to church, and it's not like I didn't have faith, but I didn't have a connection with my soul, if that makes sense, right? So it's almost like you have to graduate from being a head person to a heart person.
Yes.
And I fought that at the beginning, right? Because I didn't want to come across too woohoo, or like, I didn't want my friends in corporate to think like, and some of them still do, they think like, they'll call me when they have some spiritual life crisis, right? But they don't call me for like the day-to-day business stuff. But that's cool, but I recognize that, like, for anyone who studies Heart Math Institute, I highly recommend it's heartmath.org. Now the research is coming out to show the benefits of spirituality, how your heart is way smarter than your brain. If you want to be able to attract what you want, you're not going to do it with your head. Unfortunately, you can go to school until you're 70, but you can still be someone who can't manifest anything, right? So, and Dr. Martha Beck, who, for any female that's listening, she has a book called Finding Your North Star, which I adore. But she basically says, like, talks about the education system and says, like, basically the education system was created to help people during the wartime get a factory job. And we're still teaching like that. So this new emergence for education, like, there's so many different private institutions who are picking more up on Heart Math Institute type of technology, but they're now finding ways to measure the quantitative benefits of emotion, which they couldn't. So now science is catching up to prove that all the woohoo stuff that people have been teaching forever is now being scientifically proven. So I'm a big fan of Heart Math Institute. Some of the research they have for like people who deal with grief or depression or bipolar, like they're starting to put out so much more scientific data for this kind of discussion, and I eat it up.
And I find that all of that, everything you're saying, it's such like USANA, it's such an amazing playground to practice all of that,
Totally.
to test, to, you know, to, because it's not a business that you can do only with your brain.
No.
It's you know, it's a lot
You have
about
to get into your cells, like you told me, and look, like every cell in your body has to feel in alignment. And it takes a bit of time when you're new, right? Because you signed up like me because you wanted what Natalie had. Or my trainer, I wanted his level of health, which is why I started the product. So sometimes someone inspired you to take the first step. And it might take you a bit of time. You might have one cell that's on board, but it might take a little time to get the others. But I think you and I are similar. It's like, I just made a choice that USANA was one of my partners for life. It's like non-negotiable. I'm always going to take the product. My kids are always going to be on the product. It is part of my, like, if you don't have health, what do you have? Yeah. So if my life isn't going well, I don't try to kick USANA to the curb. I look at where did I get off course? And how do I get back on? And sometimes it takes talking to somebody like you're my girl. Like there's a couple people in my life that I call when I get a little off course. Or I bawl my eyes out to my husband and he gets me back. He sends me to a hotel. Usually within a day or two, I'm back on track. But I don't live in feeling guilt anymore. And I think you asked about being a mom. It's such a low vibration. And empathy is wonderful. Like empathy is important. But when you start feeling pity for somebody or guilt, it's a really low vibration that repels what you want. And it's based in fear. So we forget that, right? But fear might be the state, but the emotion associated with that often is guilt or worry. So that we have to look at, what are we afraid of? And I think like, I love mentoring people who are light workers, who are just positive. Like I had a call with someone today and right off the bat, I was like, I think you become good at feeling people. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like I felt this energy that there was something, I don't know, I can feel, and I'm going to talk more about this in my course, but for anyone listening who's very empathetic and sensitive to energy of other people, this is a gift, but at the same time, you can't let it take you down. But I can read people. So even if I don't see them, when I talk to them on the phone, I feel everything that's going on in their life. And if you're in USANA, build you a big business, but you also have to learn how to set boundaries. Yes. So I just knew right away, I'm like, it's not a good fit. I just knew, sometimes it's like, and we had a call, it was like 2 minutes and there was no bad energy. It was just like, we both were like, I don't think this is a good fit, and it's all good. And then I moved on, Yeah. So whereas when I was brand new, I think I would have been so attached to her wanting to join that I would have been like all upset. But I look at it as a gift. It's like, let the universe kind of decide who's in your business and who isn't. Yeah. There's usually a reason. And I've convinced people like that to join, and it never ends well. So now I just let it happen naturally.
And I'm sure you remember, like in our first few years, we all go through that. We sign people that, energetically doesn't fit. And then we get into like, totally drained by,
drained, and then it's like, yeah, and then sometimes, and then you see them calling you and you're just like, and so I think sometimes too, when you're new, you have to learn that. So sometimes you may enroll energies that are a bit of a contrast,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes it's for you to learn how to set boundaries.
Yes.
And I used to be a people pleaser, so I would over help everybody, even if it was so unhealthy for me. But I had to learn to develop confidence to the next level. And
Yes.
it's always going to be a work in progress for me because I
Hmm.
want to help everybody. But
Yeah,
for me, it's you have to feel when it's taking you down.
exactly. Yeah, great. Love it. And so for those who don't have the book, Beautiful Money, highly recommend. It's now in
Thank you.
French. And all your dates and towns are on your Beautiful Money Instagram, right? So
On the
people,
website, yeah, beautifulmoney.com.
okay. And so to close the interview, it went so fast. It's like I would chat for another hour, but what would be like a word of encouragement or inspiration, or a last word you'd like to offer to almost the 50 people that are on the Zoom? It's amazing.
Um, I think my biggest lesson has been you don't know what the big setup is.
The
So
big,
the big setup, like the big picture,
yeah,
you don't see at that level unless you're an enlightened being, which some of us could be, but I'm not. You don't see the bigger picture. So sometimes we have a tendency to get too lost in a day or a week or a month. If we learn to detach a little bit to what happens in the day. So like, for example, my call today, it doesn't impact my emotions at all. Maybe for a couple minutes because I'm human and I'm female.
yeah.
But I'm like, there's probably a bigger reason for this call not going as planned today.
Mm,
So whenever I have something happen, either positive or negative, I practice staying a little emotionally neutral, if that makes sense. Because
yeah.
when you're new, sometimes you get super hyper spazzy when someone joins and super bawling your eyes out if someone doesn't join. And it's like, that takes so much energy to be that kind of an entrepreneur. And
Yes.
you don't want to teach that because then you have a whole team like that and it is not good. So if you can be an entrepreneur like this, you'll be able to hold space for a massive empire.
Mm,
So
yeah.
it's just about noticing when do you leak a ton of emotional, especially as a female. We all do it. You just don't want to make it a habit.
Mm-hmm. Don't get in the drama I guess with time and experience, we like you said, it did touch you maybe just 1 or 2 minutes. We recover quickly.
Yeah, it
It's
used
not.
to take me like 2 months. And I would
Yeah.
have to go to Dairy Queen and eat blizzards, bawl my eyes out. Yeah, because I'm so sensitive, right?
Yes.
I'm very and I take on so much. And I
Yeah.
had to learn that it's not my job to carry other people's emotions through my lifetime.
No, no.
It's really hard. It's really hard to learn that. And then that's why I like to surround myself with people who aren't like that because I learn from them.
Yes,
And I'm like, how
exactly.
did you shake that off in 1 second?
Done. Yeah.
Like when they're brand new. I'm just like, how did you do that? And so that's why it's important to have variety. So the other tip I would give is, let's say you're not that great at social media, or you're more introverted and you don't love talking to a million people. Sponsor someone who loves that.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think we have to get good at social media and branding and blah blah blah. No, just leverage yourself so that you can just stay cozy, do your thing that you're amazing at, and create a team where everybody has an expertise.
Yes, yes. And sometimes I find that when we were talking about drama and everything, I find that it's also that trust that when, let's say, you show up, you do something, you don't get the result that you wanted, or you drive an hour and a half to go do a presentation, no guests show up, whatever. It's just need that trust inside you that there's, like you said, a bigger plan. And for me, when I do that, and let's say I have a specific moment, I remember I drove and there was nobody. I came back and then he asked me, "So how did it go?" I was like, "Oh, that it was amazing. We're full of follow-ups." But I just knew, I was like, I showed up and I know it's gonna come back in another way. So just to
Totally.
show up your best every
Yes.
time.
And if you
And
and I were, this is why I think you and I, we love mentoring. We love doing stuff together. And I know we have to go, but I did that once for an associate who I had to fly to Florida because she wasn't available. And I agreed, I'm going to fly to Florida to do presentation for your guests. I flew there and no one showed up. So here's the lesson is, could I have done something with greater clarity? Question one.
yeah,
Yes, I could have confirmed before I hopped on a plane and spent a couple $1,000s. But second, it made me feel good that I could do that. So I always look at what could I have done a little bit better,
yeah,
but I probably would have made the decision again. I just would have had greater clarity. And so
yes.
that's what you want to look at is it's always when there's a bit of lack of clarity that things like that tend to happen.
Exactly. Great. That was, I hope everybody's excited. It was such a great launch of, we were saying, Leanne and I, before the call, that we we just feel the momentum. We feel like everybody, that everybody's ready to build this year. So we're excited. And this was such a great call. Thank you so much. And wherever you are, find the date of your workshop, your beautiful money workshop, because it's just going to be this extended in one day, like full. I can't wait. It's going to be amazing. So thank you, Leanne. And
Thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for hanging out with us. Good night, everybody.
good night, everyone. Bye.